speakers. First and foremost, he's in his 16th season overall, his 9th as the head coach at Newman High School. Greenies lost a tough one to De La Salle, 22-19 in Jamboree action last week. Very good contest against a really good 3A team, and they will open their season this Friday night against a good McMain team at Lupin Field at 7 p.m. Please give a warm quarterback club welcome to Coach Nelson Stewart of the Newman Greenies.
First and foremost, thank you to the quarterback club for having me. I do always appreciate this. I know you hear it a lot. It's a saying I got from Archie Manning, but I don't think anyone or any two people do more for prep football than Ken Trahan and Ed Daniels. I know how much I appreciate it, my staff, and all the local prep coaches. It's also an honor to be up here with so many other great speakers. First, I thank Willie Brooks for wearing a suit. I'm completely underdressed, and he does look good, but I whiffed on that one. Willie, good friend of mine. I think Willie's close with every coach in the city. If you ever want to know anything from an all-star and whatnot, there's a reason he's so well respected amongst his peers, and he's someone I respect deeply. Obviously with Doug Lidberger, obviously I'm biased, but Tulane's my alma mater. I've gotten to know Doug through them coming over to Newman, practicing a few times, and I think everyone can say from the other night watching Tulane how proud I am of where their program is, where they're going, their staff, their organization, and just watching how they practice, their tempo, their attention to detail. It's unbelievable where they are, and I'm obviously ecstatic for the opening of the stadium on Saturday, and I think, again, hats off to everything they're doing, and from the bottom of my heart, really am proud of where they are. And then obviously there's a guy to my left, Herb Tyler, that I owe a little bit of thanks to. The unique thing about Herb, which kind of leads into what I want to talk about today, is obviously our quarterback, Jabari Tyler, has had quite an illustrious career for us at Newman School. Some of the things about Jabari you may not know is that despite the fact he's 1,500 yards short of breaking Eli's record, he's a two-time Metro Player of the Year, two-time All-State, state MVP. He's 8 touchdowns short of our all-time mark. What his strength is his character. He's a 4.0 student in what I believe is one of the toughest, if not toughest, schools in the Southeast, just in terms of what we demand of our kids academically. He's been offered by essentially every Ivy League school, from Dartmouth to Harvard to Yale. Dartmouth actually has him as their #1 wide receiver on the board. I keep reminding him he can throw a little bit. And Air Force has offered him as a quarterback, and also he's a very good shot, I believe, at Stanford. And I think it all goes to his character. He's only the second junior captain in the history of our program, the only other one being Peyton Manning. That's the type of young man that he is, and I think he's a direct image of Herb and all the work he's done raising his son. I'd love to sit here and pretend like I'm some quarterback guru, but his dad's the one that taught him to throw the ball, and his footwork. He came to us really finished in terms of some of the things he could do, and I've been very blessed to have him, and I think that the biggest question I get asked about Herb is, what's it like having Herb Tyler as a dad? Does he come in and talk? Never. The only thing Herb Tyler's ever been is a fan of our program, of all of our sports, and the only thing he does is support us. And I think that's an unbelievable thing to see a dad just step back and let his kid flourish. And just again, I know how proud his parents are of him, and I think that he's on track to do even bigger and better things this year. Going along those lines, I think every time I speak, there's one person I like to talk about, and that's Tony Reginelli. He's the reason that I'm able to be the head football coach at Newman School. I was asked earlier how he's doing. He's doing very well. Obviously, he's in his 80s, but he's sharp as a whip. He still calls me on Saturday to fuss at me for not running the ball more. He doesn't like me throwing it so much. But I always tell him if he could give me some of his old linemen, I'd happily run the veer or track. We're not going to do that. I don't have all those guys anymore. But he's doing very well. Again, very good mentor to me, and our program is where it is today, I think, because of the hard work that he put in there, and also our administration. One of the things about Newman is our recruiting is done in the admissions office. We are going to do things the right way. I think what we stand for is character, building the proper way, and what we stand for, we believe in. I think that we demand a lot of our student athletes. We're going to continue year in, year out to coach hard, do it the right way, put our kids in position for success. And Again, our administration is nothing but supportive from our headmaster on down in terms of what they ask of us as coaches and also the demands they put on our athletes outside the practice field. This year, we're very excited. We had a tough end of last year. We had a nice season ending rather abruptly in the playoffs, but we lost to a very good football team. Opelousas Catholic, I think one of the things you're seeing in all the new divisions and the private, public, select, non-select, whatever you want to call it, is everything is right away. There are no 25 versus 5 matchups. You see a lot of equal matchups in the first round, and I think that's why you saw a lot of guys falling all over the place. There's no mystery to that. From my position, we grew from that. We're motivated from that. As Kenny alluded to, we went against a very talented De La Salle football team. A lot of athletes, so they're going to win a lot of football games this year. It's a jamboree. It doesn't count. It's only half a game. But again, we need to prepare our kids for those situations this season if we want to have success. And again, it was a very intense jamboree. But again, if more than anything for us, it's a measuring stick of what we need to work on. Our strengths this year, I've talked about Jabari. We were also fortunate to have Kendall Bussey as our running back. Kendall is a Nebraska committee, has well over 20 Division I offers, but I think the strength of Kendall is his versatility. He's a 360-pound bench presser, squats 500 pounds. He can power clean in the mid-twos. He owns every running back record. He's also a 4.340 kid. He's pretty good, and I think the thing for him is he's the ultimate spread running back. With us, we try and be as innovative as possible and just getting him touches. With us, that's what our offense is about, getting touches. We're not trying to just get in an eye and pound a guy off the ball. We are blessed that we have another co-captain, Drew Druyer, who's probably going to go to Harvard. He's an All-State center. He was actually the only All-State center we've had in 20 years. Last year, he comes back, had a very nice performance Friday night. Plays middle linebacker on the goal line. Very strong. Again, we talk a lot about weight. That's important what we do. He power cleans 325 pounds. Put together, real leader on and off the field. And those three, obviously including Jabari, have really formulated what we think is a pretty good nucleus. We have 11 seniors coming back. A few of those guys, one of which is Elliott Sperling, who had 10 interceptions last year, a returning All-State player. Ronnie Lamarck, who's a two-way starter, is a defensive end, offensive tackle. Nicky Alfonso, and amongst many others. They're a very solid group. They work hard. And as I mentioned, Coach Reginelli always says you win and lose with your seniors. I think that we believe the strength of our program is our seniors. Just the way they battled the other night, the way they've come back, I think that it's kind of indicative of the kind of program we have. And we also have some very good underclassmen. Matthew Ryan, Coach Rob Ryan's son, he is all of 318 pounds and 6'2 and a half, but we're not used to guys that big, but he does run well. He does clog the middle. He does have long hair like his father, but he is actually a joy to coach. And as I alluded to with Herb, another guy that you hear so many of these great dads that send their kids to Newman, who just is a fan, is nothing but supportive, and very impressed with their family, and we're very fortunate to have him. Along with him, Jack Miller, who's going to hopefully be our career-leading tackle before it's over. He's a 3-year starter as a junior middle linebacker. And then Tyler Addison and Elbert Thomas, who are two very talented junior wideouts that we have high hopes for. As Ken alluded to, we opened up with McMain. We had a pretty good win over them last year at this time, but I do think that they've beaten us, since they've beaten us 2 out of the last 3 times. They're very well coached by Kevin Russo. Watching them the other day against McDonough 35, it's very apparent they're athletic, they work hard. I think they may even have a little more talent than they did last year, so it's going to be a tough contest. Very good quarterback, very good program, and we're lucky that we have a very good contest early because we do want to compete. And then moving on into our district this year, I think the unique thing about our district at 8-2A is you hear so much about Riverside Academy. I would not look past St. James and look at Rick Gailey right now. He's probably one of the best coaches, if not the best I've ever gone across the field from. And that's a program that I have so much respect for. Coach Jenkins has gone in there, and you can feel it where they're going. Have a great quarterback, a great community, a new stadium. We do have to go to that stadium week 6. I think that's going to be a war. And then our treat the following week is to get Riverside. So it's a back-to-back thing for us, but that's what high school football is. This group's a senior-laden group. They're here to compete. And as I alluded to, Coach Bill Stubbs and Riverside, while we're known as rivals, I think that we're competitors at the same time, a deep respect for one another. And again, a lot of other schools in our 17 league, Fisher, Cohen, and Sophie B. Wright, all growing programs I think that we look to improve. I think South Blackman, who beat us 2 years ago, while their numbers are small, Cedric Figueroa does a great job in terms of getting those guys to play at a high level, playing on both sides of the ball. And Carver, who I think everybody still talks about that 72-68 game that almost killed me 3 years ago, but they do have some of those guys still on that team. Byron Addison and his staff do a great job. And then I guess in conclusion, our goals for the year are to get through this regular season, come out healthy, and see where you're in the playoffs. It's weird to say everybody's in it. It's no secret amongst any. I'm not a fan of select, non-select, just because I'd rather a solid association. I don't think it's something that any of us want, but it's the world we live in. So when we come in week 11, we want to be focused and understand, regardless who's across the field, it's going to be a very good football program. You see all the time that seedings and stuff, they don't matter the way they used to. I think that you're in for a war right away. Our kids are ready. Our kids are focused. And I think with our regular season schedule and also our preseason schedule, we should be ready for that situation. Is there any questions?
Raise your hand if you have a question.
Anything?
Question for Nelson. Be shy, up here.
Yes, sir.
What are your numbers these days? How many are you losing to soccer and other sports?
Well, interestingly enough, they've grown. I think that one of the things, I heard Dabo Sweeney say, is you hear all the time football's under attack. I think that it's a shame you hear that, but I learned, and one of the things I say at our parents' meeting is that football taught me how to be a man. And I think that's one of the things we say. The values that I've learned in my toughest situations are what I learned on the football field. And the reason in asking that, why I say that is, last year, 2 years ago, we were at 37 players. Last year at 45. Right now, we're at 61. So pretty healthy. We've got almost 60 players in our middle school program. It's a credit to our staff and what we're doing. I think we're ahead of the curve. We have a great training staff. You hear so much about concussions with us. It's just a part of our protocol in terms of how we deal with it, the treatment. And again, we're fortunate that there's a strong interest in football, but I also think that's a direct result of Jabari and those seniors, and there's so much interest in our program. I guess it's my job to keep it going, but we're in a good spot. Guys, again, oh yes sir?
How's your kicking game?
Our kicking game is actually pretty solid. We have a kicker named Kirk Groom. He's a sophomore. We tried to bang one in. Everybody thought it was crazy the other night. We tried to bang one in from about 43 yards, but he's got the leg to do it. Bradley Ferris has actually been our special teams coordinator, Butch, I should say, everybody knows him as, for 30 years. He's a great kicking coach. He's coached 7 All-State kickers, so he's really worked on his swing. I think some of the new things with kickoff, some of the new rules make it interesting in terms of if you're going to get it deep, it's not as easy as it used to be in terms of having to push guys up and whatnot, but he's got a good leg. We have a good athletic punter in Albert Thomas, and like most programs, we work kickoff, kick return every single day along with our punt game, but pretty solid. We feel like pretty good.
Can I get a question?
Yes, sir.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Sure.
But I'm curious. Where does Jabari stand? If you're looking at a junior, with Eli and me, where does he stand with those kids when they were juniors in high school?
I think that, without question, Jabari Tyler stands neck and neck with the finest football players that we've put out at our school. I think that, when it comes to Jabari, you simply can't measure who he is by looking at his height and weight. He is a phenomenal football player. And one thing, and Herb's pretty humble about it, wherever he plays football next year, whether he's a returner, a running back, a slot, or quarterback, he will be successful. And if I'm fortunate enough to speak later in the year at the quarterback club, I think at that time you'll see through his work that he's not just an all-state kid, he's in that next level of kid. I've been blessed to have coached Odell Beckham, seeing him go in the top 10 draft. Jabari's that type of kid. Actually, the only difference with Jabari is he's been doing it for so long. I think he probably has a record for starts as a quarterback. Again, it's not just athleticism with him. It's if there's an it, for lack of better words, that's what he has. And I think that he just has to continue to play within himself, be a leader, and whoever gets him is not just getting a great player, they're getting a great person, and he's a steal. And I'll say this: the schools that have offered him, I think are trying to steal him. I know Dartmouth's got their fingers crossed, saying, "Please, nobody else figure this thing out." For his sake, I hope he gets as many as possible. But he's neck and neck right now. Thank you guys again so much. Greatly appreciate it.